Hello, here for another solution video for one of my puzzles. This is the most recent one as of today. This is Easter egg that I made back on Sunday of this week. Unsurprisingly, I made it sitting at the Easter table with family. Partially. Kind of having dessert and I was just killing time, and it just drew the shape with my phone, and then went home and tested it and put some given digits in. So, in the interest of cutting down time on these solutions, we're going to kind of breeze through the rules a little quicker, because I'm just on the assumption that people have already seen most of these rules before, or you've done one of my previous puzzles. But I'll elaborate on ones that I think are worth elaborating on. So we have normal Sudoku rules apply. We should know what that means. German whisperers are pretty standard. Digits along green lines must be different by at least 5 from their neighbors. That gives us some bits of information, like you can never have a 5 on a green line. It also means 4s and 6s are pretty tough to place on them at times. Renban lines, these 7 cells here, as well as these 7 cells there, they're separate, must form a consecutive sequence in any order, which means we could determine, for example, this must be 1 through 7. But that doesn't have to necessarily be in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It could be some other random ordering, as long as the entire sequence as a whole is a consecutive sequence. Region sum lines, those are, I believe, new for my puzzles, so we'll talk about this one a little more in depth. It says box borders divide blue lines into segments. So we can kind of color these segments based on the fact that these are in the same box as each other. These are in the same box. And these are in the same box. Those 3 segments will sum to the same number. So once we determine what the sum of one of these segments is, we automatically know it for the others. So if we determined this was a 4, that would have to be a 9 sum total, meaning these 3 would sum to 9, and those 2 would sum to 9. Lastly, entropic lines. Each set of 3 adjacent digits along a peach line must contain exactly 1 low digit, 1 medium digit, and 1 high digit. That is this. So we usually see that kind of tackled as strategy-wise as coloring them as 3 colors. Again, we don't know which one's which yet, but we have to maintain this pattern. That here we have 1 of each color. But if we now try to grab the next 3 along the line, we're missing a green here. So green must repeat here. We do the same here, orange, green, we're missing a purple, purple must go there. And we keep repeating this pattern. So this is the way that will look. That whatever's in this cell will have to be the same entropy, meaning low, medium, or high as that and that. Those 2 would be the same, those 2 would be the same. That is the rules. Let's restart and try this. So in the interest of saving time, I'll mention that if you want to try this on your own, feel free. Obviously, I imagine you've probably done that if you're here. But if not, and you just want a little bit of a hint to start, I will say the only rule you need to consider at the beginning for the break-in is the German whisper line. None of the other rules come into play yet. So feel free to try that, but assuming we're good with that, the main area we need to focus on is this little strip here. Because this area sees a number of digits. It sees 8 and 9. We also have a 6 on the bottom, that can't be. We also see a 5 there, that's not relevant for this. But what we have to think about is, we can never have 5s on this, we already said that. And that means the green digits will jump from low to high, low to high. And if we look at what can go here, we have everything except 5 initially. Can't have an 8 or a 9 either. Can't have a 6 down here. But we also just can't have 4s and 6s anyways here, because no matter where we place it, we would need to have, if it was a 4, we'd have 9s on both sides. If it was a 6, we'd have 1s on both sides. Either way, that breaks Sudoku rules here. What we have here is we only have 1 high digit available for these 3 here, which is not really great. In fact, that can only be done by having the high digit in the middle. Because if we put a 7 here, you could put a 1, 2, or 3 here, but what would you put here? There's no other high digits available. So 7 must go in the middle. 7, which 5 away from that is 1 or 2, so those can't be 3. Now this is going to propagate around the whole perimeter of the egg, so this is going to be a pencil marking fest for a minute. Being careful of taking out options where we can. Those are all fine. That can't be a 4 because it would be 9s on both sides. That's fine. That's fine. It's also fine. Here we're going to run into issues. Those can't be 6, 4, 6, 4. 6 is fine there. 4 can't go there. 6 can't go there, so that gives an 8 here. That bounces up here. Trying to breeze through this recording a bit quickly, so excuse me if I don't explain everything out loud, but a lot of this is just going to be classic Sudoku logic. And we have a 1-2 pair here, gets a 3 there. What else can we do? 3 over here. Oh, 5 away from that is at least an 8. That has to be 9 now. 6 up here means double 1s on both sides. That makes that a 2. Let's see. Alright, perhaps the next thing to look at now will be thinking about the run bands a little bit, because I believe that's the next step, if I recall correctly, from the solved path here. So what we have now is, again, we have 7-cell long segments here. So that only leaves a couple of options, because if you think of the ways we could make that work, we'd have 1 through 7, 2 through 8, or 3 through 9. No matter which one it is, we're always going to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All 3 of those options have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on it. Meaning the outside portions of the run band on these lines, these 2 outside parts, those will come from the sets of 1, 2, 8, 9. That's just depending on which of those options it was. So that can be 8 or 9. Same thing happens up here, 1, 2, 8, 9, and we'll find this actually has to be a 2. And as soon as we see that has to be a 2, that locks in a 1 on the other side. Because if this is a 2, then the minimum that could be on the run band would be a 3, and it would have to increase from 3 to 9. Meaning there would never be a spot you could put a 1 here. So that has to be a 1 over there. That forces this down to being 1. Puts a 2 over here. Now this being a 2 with a 3 on the run band means we're just going to be increasing from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which means the other side here has to be 9. That's going to give some more work on the perimeter now. This can no longer be a 6 because we would need a 1 here. That has to be 8, that has to be 7. 7 takes out 3 as an option from there. I think that's all we can do with that for now. Maybe look at the region sum line a little bit now, because we'll actually notice the first digit we place tells us the sum. This has to be 12 now. So that leaves only 2 options over here. It's either going to be a 9 and a 3 or an 8 and a 4. That has to be a 4 now, so that has to be an 8 with it to sum to 12. That gives us some options here, reduced a bit. This can no longer be 6, because that would need to be a 1 there. Oh. So if we go put back the coloring on the entropy lines, that will be a good spot to look next. I should have just left it there originally, but I believe we had repeat 3, so we'd have that there. That tells us we know this has to be high now, green. So that has to be 7, 8, 9 there. We know the others have to be lower, medium in some order. And we'll find that most of this is ambiguous. This one's not ambiguous though, because this sees 1, 2, and 3. It sees a 1 and a 3 there, and it sees a 2 here. So orange can never be the low digit. So that has to be medium, which has to be a 5. It makes that medium, makes these low. Not those. That has to be a 3. So we've done what we can with that. Something else we might want to do is think about the middle of the region sum line here. So we have what seems like a lot of options, but if we kind of just type everything in, see, it is a little limited, but it's still nowhere near enough to be able to actually get information out of this, just because there's way too many ways to sum to 12 when you have this many options. What we can do is we can just do some classic Sudoku to finish up some areas here. So like this box needs 3 digits only. We need a 4, 6, and a 9. 6 and a 9 goes there. This box needs 2, 7, and 9. 9 is locked out of there, so that must go there. 2 and 7 goes there. That bounces back over here and gives us 4, 6 pair to get a 9 there. It gives 8 in the middle. Let's see. This row now needs 4 and 7, looks like. So that takes out 4s from here. This row needs 2, 6, 9. Which means we can take out 6 from there. That fills a 1, 3, 5 in the middle here. Just trying to remember where the next spot to look would be. Sure that we're good, because this is definitely not my second take, that I definitely did not make a mistake on the previous take, so I'm getting a little paranoid, but things are looking good. Next spot, let's continue looking at rows that are mostly complete. So here we have 1, 2, 7, 8, 9 in use here. So these cells must come from 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice 3 can't go in any of those 3 spots, so 3 is in the corner. 6 is locked out from here. Maybe look at the Ren bands a little bit, because there are a couple free digits we can get on this. So 4 is not free, 5 is locked into the middle of this row. 6 is not locked. 7, however, is locked over here. Making 8 here is locked here. I'm just going to mark all of this at this point, because we might as well. 6. So what that actually shows us is this can't be anything else on the right band other than 6. Another way to look at that would just be to see the fact that we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. So this is actually a naked single of 6. Take 6 out from here, gives us a 4, 5 pair down here. That bounces up here. In general, we can now actually say this is 5, 8, and what is it, 4, I believe. In this row to finish that off. So 4, 5, 8 takes out 4, 5 from there. The 1, 2 down here also takes out that from here, gives us 3 here. This box is almost complete now. We need a 1, 4, and a 5. That can't be 4 or 5, so that gives a 1 there. This box needs 4, 5, and 2. That has to be 5. And then lastly we need, I believe, a 9 here, which takes out 9 from here. And this finally actually gets the middle of the box now to be a resolvable point. And that's because if we look at what would happen if this was a 2, you can never make it to 12 now, because we need, at maximum, we could have a 5 here and a 3 here. That would give us a sum of 10, not 12. So even in the best case scenario, as soon as we pick 2 here, it's too low. So that has to be a 6. Now if we think of the ways to get to 12 from there, well, we need another 6 sum between the 2 of these spots. And we can never have a 3 be part of that, because you would need double 3, which we can't do. So it has to be a 1, 5, 1, 5 with 3 in the middle. That takes out 3 from here. Now we can start maybe looking at more classic Sudoku, because we don't have a way to break up any of these pairs or kind of triples down here quite yet, so we're going to need information from up here to work that out. But we have some freebies we can use up here. So like this column is only missing a 5. This column is only missing 3 and 7. This is missing 4 and 8. It's not quite a ton out of that yet. And this is missing 5 and 8. So that's 8 and 5. It's going to do a little bit of work here. This is now missing a 4 and a 6. And this is missing 2, 3, 7. This is a 7, 9 pair in this row, so that can't be 7, neither can this. So that gives that order. 2, 3, and 7 there, 1 here. This row is now missing 2, 6, 8. Neither of those can be 6. That has to now be 2 and 8. That gives 4, 5, 8 pair, or just 4, 5 pair. This column needs a 4 or 5 to match up with this 4, 5. This column, who knows? There's a lot of options here, so we need 3, 4, 5, and 3, 4, 5. 4, 5 there gives us 3 here. And it seems kind of like we're stuck until we think about, well, finish the perimeter of the green egg. This 3 can't be next to a 7. That has to be a 9. And that's going to unsort all of this. And 4 in the middle, not in the middle. And so there, we complete this in 11 minutes and 2 seconds. Again, this was a bit of a rushed video just because I wanted to get this out. I really didn't feel like taking my time and doing another 20-minute attempt just to have it possibly backfire again. So just kind of rushed through it on the assumption that most of you are here because you just want to see a quick solution anyways. So, thank you for watching.